Ronnie O'Sullivan has written a book. Bit of a lie. He's written 7 books, 3 autobiographies, a cookbook, and a trilogy of crime thrillers. More on them at a later date. For now, we're going to focus on this, his latest autobiography, Unbreakable. Get it, like, sort of like breaks in snooker, but he's been through a lot, which means he's like sort of... Anyway, this was released not long after he won his 7th world title, and it promised to be his most definitive memoir. And like most sports autobiographies, it was co-written, in this case with Tom Fordyce. And all in all, I was very excited to read this book. And indeed, in some respects, it delivered. There are some great things about this book. A few highlights for me. The way Ronnie articulates how he used running to cope with his addictions. It helped him deal with the more tumultuous aspects of his family life. I think that's a timeless story, a timeless lesson. And no matter how many times he retells it, it'll always fascinate me. Another brilliant thing about this book is that it's got these excerpts that are written from Ronnie's perspective during some of his most iconic breaks. The standout example being his fastest 147. So what you could do theoretically is get the video up while you're reading what he's thinking at the time. Really, really good touch. Most of all, it reads like Ronnie. You can picture him saying it, which is quite a difficult thing to pull off with a co-author. Sadly though, the positives end there. I have far more criticism for this book than I do praise, I'm afraid. Honestly, vast swathes of this book feel like they're written by an unqualified self-help guru. Just cliche motivational speeches, repetitive lines about building mentality. And obviously that's great, but there's so much of it that it just weighs the book down for the reader. Maybe this is an unfair comparison, but for those who have read Jimmy White's autobiography, Second Wind, you as the reader know that Jimmy was a bit of a wreckhead. But Jimmy doesn't try and preach to the reader about how to turn your life around. He just tells you about all the mad stuff he did. He tells you about crashing Asian businessmen's speedboats, crashing cars with Alex Higgins. Fun! And surely it would be simple for Ronnie and his co-author to cook up a book that can reflect the sheer force of personality that Ronnie O'Sullivan is, to sum up the last 30 years of headlines, hedonism, and ultimately happiness, right? Wrong! Like I say, I couldn't wait to read it. But it quickly descends into a read of equivalent quality to most sports autobiographies. By which I mean boring, repetitive tripe. Okay, it's not that bad. But how do you take a story as colourful as Ronnie's and make it black and white? How do you use your 300 pages to just give the reader cliched pep talks? How do you not discuss the variety of people that Ronnie has rubbed shoulders with and in turn rubbed off on? But really, who cares? With Ronnie O'Sullivan, it's not his writing that we're here for, is it? It's for the good, the bad, and the ugly of the previous 30 years. Madness and the mayhem he's brought to snooker on and off the table, for better or worse. And to be fair, I suppose he has proved himself to be a bit unbreakable. Haven't you, bud? But you might like it, so read it if you want to, and we'll get round to his crime trilogy in the future, yeah?